a lot of things, even though you're giving the public the opportunity to be heard, at the end of the day, you can either listen or not listen, because it doesn't matter if there's 99 people in here expressing a view on one side and one person on the other side. Ultimately you can take the position in opposition. But the truth of the bottom line is, ultimately you're answering to the voters. If you're doing things that they don't agree with, and they don't think are in the best interest of the city, they're going to take care of that at the
election
voting station next time around. So, and the one thing that I put in there that I think, it's very important that you, and they always talk about this in the law side, me as a magistrate, district court judges, lawyers, that is that you avoid the appearance of impropriety. So, like, if somebody were to see, 3 councilmen's cars parked up at the mayor's house, at noon today before a meeting or something like that, there's just going to be an assumption you guys are up there talking about something that, deals with city business or deals with what's going to be on the agenda tonight. Or in the bar, afterwards, that type of thing. So, you just really have to be careful about avoiding that appearance of impropriety. Because, again, it's supposed to all be open and all be subject to public scrutiny. And, the rules as far as minutes, that sort of thing, those are the rules that you guys follow all the time. You don't record discussion, you record motions and the vote on motions. We've talked a little bit in the past about, Chris and I probably more so, but as far as the agenda and what changes can be made in the agenda and that type of thing. And if it's routine matters, things that you've known about for a while, you do have to have an agenda posted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Now that doesn't mean that things can't come up quickly and be added to that agenda. But if they are added to the agenda, they have to be on the 24-hour agenda. Then when you come into the meeting and you go into that topic, you need to record in the minutes. Someone would say, I want to discuss such and such. And you need to make a record of why it was not placed on that agenda at least 24 hours ahead of time. So it's not that you can't do it, but you need to have a good reason, and you need to record your reason.
We need to record the discussion on that, Warren, too, then? Or?
Just a summary of why it came up late. There can be things that happen. You could have I can think of a lot of things. Something happened with the city water supply, or there was a storm or something like that needed to be dealt with. There's no way that you can give a 24-hour notice of those things. You need to take action right away. Section 21.5 is the exception to the open meetings law. It's all set out in this booklet. A lot of, there's I think a little bit of a misconception about this personnel issue, the exception to the open meetings law. Number one, in order to go into closed session, first of all, even if it appears that it's within one of the exceptions, there has to be a 2/3 vote of the council persons present to go into closed session. So unless you have a 2/3 vote, you can't go into closed session. And if you get into one of these personnel situations, either if it's a matter of someone applying for a job, someone that may be subject to reprimand, any of those types of things, you guys don't initiate the closed session discussion. that's something that has to be initiated by the person who is subject to that discussion.
What if they're not here?
Well, then you're going to do an open session. No, the only way that that gets held in closed session is if they request it. So, and you know, you can look at those. I mean, it's under 21.5. Talks about.
I agree. I was asking the point. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody's not here and we're going to discuss them, then we just got to discuss them in open session. If they're not here.
Absolutely, right. And you know, even if they request it, 2/3 of you have to say, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this person's reputation could be damaged. Therefore, I think we should go into closed session. We can, you know, they're here, we'll hash it out in closed session. And of course, then when you come out of closed session, you have to, you know, any action you want to take, you know, if you want to dismiss somebody, you want to reprimand somebody, that type of thing, that has to be done in open session.
That can only be discussed in closed session, correct?
Discussed in closed session. And, you know, you have to do the recording of, you know, the mayor and I have discussed that a little bit in the past, how the proper procedure for that. But, as I said earlier, I think the misconception, and I had that misconception that, you know, if you were going to talk about somebody personnel-wise, that, you know, somebody here might say, look, I think this is a sensitive matter. I think we should go into closed session on this. Unless they request it, you know, you can't do it. Even though it may be uncomfortable, it may be, you know, you just, I mean, we all, you know, we live with each other, you know, in a town this size, you know, it's very uncomfortable to get in those kind of situations. Now, there's nothing wrong with advising a person, you know, that they do have that right. I'm not saying that you can't do that. But unless they make the request.
Should that be advised to them more, and then, so when it comes to a personnel issue, and...
You could make that, let's just say that it was Mark. You could say right now to Mark, now Mark, you need to understand.
I don't advise you, but you have the option to go into closed session.
Right.
Because I don't want to advise you.
You have the right to request a closed session.
Right.
We're going to talk about something here that involves you, and if you want, you can request a closed session. And then if he does, then you have to vote on it. And if, let's just say, I mean, there's 5 of you here, let's say that 3 of you vote no, then it's going to stay in the open.
2 vote no. We gotta have we gotta have 4 out of 5. Otherwise, it's not 2/3. It's only 60%.
I guess 3 right. Yeah, 4 out of 5. Yeah, you're right. I'm not too good at math.
John here.
So, and then, you know, at the bottom there, I've put down what the penalties are. And, you know, if there has been a violation, you know, ordinarily if there's been a violation, you know, somebody will just bring it to your attention and say, you know, I think that was a violation of the open meetings law, and let's try to not do that in the future. I think, you know, the gentleman that films these things brought that to your attention at one point. But if they actually go to court and try to say, look, you guys are habitually doing this, and on, you know, July 9th, that was a violation, and they ask the court to intervene, the penalty is a fine of not less than 100 nor greater than 500 for each member who voted to go into closed session. It's a defense to getting fined if you voted no. So if there was a 4-to-1 vote against going into closed session, or it'd have to be a specific vote, that person then could not be fined, even though, you know, he didn't walk out of the room or, you know, do anything else. As long as his vote of no was recorded, then that is a defense to getting fined. And you also, if somebody files an action against you and goes to court, hires a lawyer, that sort of thing, you end up having to pay their attorney fees and any court costs that they incur. And if you're found in violation 2 times, then you will be removed from office. So, I think there's a nice discussion about that in there. So, I think, you know, questions and answers, I think just about any question that you could ask is covered there, and better answers are given in that book probably than I would give you. So, and just generally, I guess I could answer some questions, but you know, I don't know, it's I kind of have mixed feelings about the law myself, because I think in these small communities, you know, it seems like sometimes there are things that would be better.
Well, you don't get to have a fair and honest discussion.
Right. That's the problem.
Exactly. Because you're going to offend somebody somewhere, right. So you just don't say it at all.
Absolutely. Especially, you know, if you're in business, you know, and you start talking all of a sudden, you know, I mean, if you're like me, you know, you got 10,000 traders and about 9,000 blooms, you know, and I'm related to all of them, you know. You got to be pretty damn careful what you say.